Back in 1937, one of the most famous women in the world disappeared without a trace, Amelia Earhart. The first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, was trying to fly all the way around the world, somewhere over the Pacific near Howland Island. She radioed that she was running low on fuel, and then nothing. She had her plane and just vanished. For years, the official story has been she ran out of gas and crashed into the ocean, but what if that's not what really happened? There's actually a lot of evidence suggesting that Amelia Earhart didn't crash into the sea, that she might have survived and landed on a tiny island called Nukuma Aroro. Today I'm going to explain why that survival theory makes the most sense. First, I'll go over the official crash and sink story. Then I'll talk about the evidence that points to her surviving. Finally, I'll explain why the old theory just doesn't hold up anymore. So first, here's what most people believe. The U.S. concluded that Earhart's plane ran out of fuel near Howland Island and went down into the ocean. The Navy searched for weeks, covering 250,000 square miles, but found nothing. No plane, no debris, no sign of Earhart or her navigator, Fred Noonan. Because there was no other clear explanation that the story stuck, it was simple. She crashed and sank. But even after decades of searching, including deep sea missions as recent as 2019, no one has ever found her plane. That's strange, considering how well other planes from that area have been found and identified underwater. Now here's where things get interesting. After her last known radio call, people across the Pacific began picking up faint distress messages on her exact frequency. According to the National Geographic, more than 50 of these signals were documented in the days where she disappeared. If her plane had sunk, those messages would have been impossible, meaning she would have ran on land and still been trying to get help. In 1940, British officers discovered partial human remains on Nikimaro Island, along with a woman's shoes, part of what she looked like a U.S. aircraft. The bones were tested at the time and labeled as male, but those records were reanalyzed in 2018. A forensic science named Richard Jantz found the bone measurements were actually a 99% match to Earhart's body type. And it doesn't stop there. The research group's TIGHAR found fragments of aluminum that match Earhart's plane, a 1930 American compact mirror, and even an old bottle of freckle cream, the same brand she was known to use. Pull all that together and it paints a different picture. The Earhart landed on Nikimaro and survived there for a while before dying as a castaway. When you look at the evidence, the crash and sink idea just doesn't make sense anymore. If her plane sank right away, how could anyone have heard distress calls from several days? And why has no wreckage ever been found without modern NOR technology? Meanwhile, on Nikimaro, we have bones, plane parts, American artifacts, and even matching radio evidence. The pieces just fit too well to ignore. The most logical conclusion is that Earhart and Fred Noonan made an emergency landing on the island and survived for a while, but sadly never made it home. For over 80 years, people have wondered what really happened to Amelia Earhart. The official story gives us closure, but not truth. The radio calls, the bones, and the artifacts on Nikimaro and all tell a much strong story, one of survival, not instant tragedy. So no, I don't think she crashed into the ocean and disappeared forever. I think she fought to survive like the brave and determined person she was always. Amelia Earhart might not have finished her flight around the world, but her story still inspires us to keep exploring and keep questioning and never stop searching for the truth.